not just a nightmare or a bad dream, it is a reality of several millions of people living in war-torn countries. October 2019, Israeli forces killed 34 Palestinians and 1,834 were severely injured. January 2024, rockets were launched at Israel and 2 rockets were intercepted at the Iron Dome and 2 fell in the open spaces. August 2020, Israel continues to bomb Gaza for 8 days in a row. And in retaliation, the Gaza militants fired 12 rockets at Israel. This is the daily life of people living in Israel. And trust me, this is just a tip of iceberg. Every day there are several millions of innocent killed. Hey, this is Samiksha and you're watching Unfiltered Reality. So in the next few minutes, I'll talk about why there are constant bombings on both sides of Israel and Palestine. So let's start with what is exactly Israel-Palestine conflict. So let's get a trip from India to Israel. So here is the map of Israel, and Israel is surrounded by Lebanon, Syria, Jordan and Egypt. The root of this conflict lies in the interesting history of Israel. And so without any further ado, let's dive in. In the late 19th century, there existed Ottoman Empire, and the Ottoman Empire land neighboring country wanted to seize it. And this empire provided a principal place for the Jewish people who were outdriven by the Western Europe by any means of massacre and persecution. In 1896, a pamphlet by Theodor Herzl envisioned the founding of future independent Jewish state during 28th century, and that's how the concept of Israel emerged. Jews migrated from Europe to Israel in large number. During World War II, the concept of Holocaust in Germany, Jewish people were filled in the gas chambers till they died. And Hitler's hate against Jewish it's pushed the migration. And as a result, the population rose of Jewish people from Europe to Israel, and it was 3% to 30%. Now, as we are talking about colonialism era, so the British intervention is mandated. So British seized this opportunity and played really smartly at 3 sides. So first side, they promised Jewish to give them Palestine. And second side, they promised the Arabs to hand over the Palestine. And on the third side, this is damn interesting, they signed a secret agreement, that is Sky Spy Accord, between France and Russia, where the British claimed the Jewish area of Palestine and Arabs of all over the country. The British had its possession on Israel, and the France, it had Syria and Jordan under its authority, and Russia had some parts of Turkey. But as we know from our experience, whenever British intervened, it was followed by a chaos. So just like India-Pakistan, here we had a division between Hindus and Muslim, and there it was Muslim and Jews. So as someone greatly said, as you sow, shall you reap. So British were unable to handle the chaos in the Middle East of Israel. So they handed over this issue to UN. So at this time, the United Nations was recently formed, and this was the first big issue assigned to them. So based on UN mandate, a peace treaty was signed and the land was divided for Israel and Palestine. So the Palestinians were given the authority of West Bank and Gaza Strip. So as you can see over here, the surrounding countries strongly criticizes and attacked Israel from all 4 sides. Now Israel defended really well at this time. The war lasted for 6 days, and at the end, Israel gave up its extended land to Egypt and signed a peace agreement of Israel-Egypt, and Egypt becomes the first country to accept Israel as a country. Now, in 2020, there was a peace agreement signed between UAE and Israel, and now UAE recognizes Israel as a country. Now, Israel is looking forward for acceptance and improving its foreign relation. But wait, what does all means to India? India's foreign policy is driven by a need of increasing global presence and prestige. Peace in Arab country will not only economically help us, but also it will be helped by Indian diaspora living in these areas. A multipolar Middle East with world's most high-profile conflict, Israel and Palestine, is an excellent opportunity for India to prove its credential and emerge out as global leader. Jai Hind. And if you loved watching this video, please do like and share your comment regarding India-Israel relation. Thank you.